Hi, you're listening to When Isabel Met Aviva, a podcast about romcoms, female-driven screenwriting, and how to break into the entertainment industry. I'm Isabel.
And I'm Aviva.
And welcome to the next episode of our pod.
Today we are just having a chatty episode to wrap up the year.
We haven't done this in so long.
I know. I don't know who listens to this. Probably like 3 people and my dad, but appreciate it. Anyone who listens.
My dad has probably already fallen asleep to it by now.
If you guys are new listeners, Isabel's dad has a really funny quote on our website. He likes to fall asleep to podcasts and to ours.
He likes to fall asleep to the sound of our voices.
It's like, honestly, I also fall asleep to podcasts sometimes. So.
I do get random like friends and family and like people from my gym that tell me that they listen to the podcast and they're like they'll randomly be like, "Oh, I like your podcast," and I'm like, "Really?"
Maybe the numbers are much higher than we're being told.
Than we think, yeah.
It'd be amazing. Yeah. A few people also have approached me. About I'm kind of becoming like a little bit of like the podcast woman when I like go to I go to a lot of like Jewish events and people are like, "I know about your podcast." And I'm like,
"Ooh."
Doing like, what's it called when you're like doing like outreach with the people I don't know if it's a term, but like we're doing like local outreach right now.
Yeah, that's good. I need to start doing that here. I feel like that would be really good for us. But yeah, I feel like that's for like in 2025. I think I would say that is one of my goals is to like actually do more networking in the film industry and like put myself out there more and then like take my podcast business cards and like go to events and stuff. But I honestly just did not have the energy or the headspace for that this past year, but I feel like excited about doing that next year. So
I think that would be in the right place. And I would love that for our podcast and for you. And like, I'm sure you can just like in LA, it's easier. Well, I don't know if it's easier, but I don't know. You could just like run into anyone who's like connected to a production company versus where I live. That's probably unlikely, you know?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I feel like Seattle does have like a big film scene. It's just like a different type, right? But I think, I don't know. It's probably good for us to both be networking in both of them. And I will do more on my side next year.
Yeah. Just like give our business card to like anyone. You never know. I've like literally, I don't do this that often, but I like put our business card on like a bulletin board in like downtown Bainbridge.
Nice.
Stuff like that. And I just like give it out to everybody. If I ever talk about the podcast and I'm very obsessed, I will give them my business card. I've started to do that.
Yeah.
But where should we start with like what we want to talk about?
Yeah, well, okay. I have a couple questions for you that I think are very like centered around like reflections on the past year and like goals for next year. But I guess my first question for you is like if you want to share how your experience in your fellowship was and if you feel like that like like do you want to do something like that again? Do you recommend people apply to stuff like that? Like did you feel that really helped you a lot and that like because to me it feels like you like really came out of that with like I mean you had a play, right? And like you got to like see your play and then you had I feel like you finished this screenplay, right? The Significant Mother one.
Significant Mothers. Yeah. So the fellowship I did was through the Northwest Screenwriters Guild and I learned about them during the pandemic. I would attend these like weekly Zoom readings. People would read like 10 pages and we give feedback and stuff. It's cool that I did the fellowship because I remember during the pandemic, it just felt like so impossible to like be in a room with other people unmasked and things like that. You know, like it just felt like sci-fi to me at the time. I don't know, but it was like it was just so strict during the pandemic. So the fellowship went really well. There was a group of, I think like 10 of us, just local writers, screenwriters. And I will say it was just good for accountability because I wrote my script from the beginning. So It was kind of just like a support group, and we got feedback, and I enjoyed it. It was like being in a little like creative writing class again. But yeah, I can't say like it got me any like opportunities. It's not, I mean, I don't really know. I'm hoping, well, I reapplied. And if I get in, like hopefully maybe this next cycle we'll somehow be able to do more outreach with like local production companies, like more like connection building. But it was mostly just to get to know other writers. And yeah, I wrote a rom-com I love that I want to make, and it was nice to get to know like other people in the group, and I want to get to know them more. Like, okay, this is cool. The writer, I think I've shared this before, but one of the writers who's like the leader next year of this group is he wrote 50 First Dates. So like that's a cool credit. Yeah. And he wrote this other really cute Indian rom-com. Is it called Outsourced? I should verify.
I feel like I watched part of it after we talked about it.
Yeah. I haven't seen that one for years, but I do remember it being cute. I think she works at a call center or something.
Yeah.
And falls in love with someone on the phone. I don't remember. So yeah. So he's definitely like the most like famous of the group, but yeah, it was cool. So I definitely hope I get in. Just to have accountability. It's just so nice to have deadlines. Because then I actually do it versus when I set them myself. It's more.
I was gonna say, yeah, I feel like it seems like something like that is really useful for just having like other people to like check in, and like you kind of have like a deadline, and other people like, I don't know, giving you feedback and to talk to you about it. That it kind of feels like how I felt this past year writing a script on spec for producers again, but like my problem definitely has been that's like writing somebody else's script for me in ways, right? Because it's not necessarily like a project of mine that I want to focus on. And I think that, I don't know, sometimes I feel, and I'm sure our audience feels this way too, where it just feels like everyone else around you is like constantly writing so much, and they've written so many scripts in the year. And I'm just kind of like, I have written one for like, that isn't even mine. And how do people write so many in a year?
I know. You definitely like, I also encounter those people, especially like when I was more involved with screenwriting Twitter. Yeah, where they're like writing one a month or something. I don't know. It's so fast. But I still think we both made progress, even if we're not like writing as much. But yeah, just about the fellowship. Yeah, the coolest part was like definitely there was a reading at the end, and like this lovely woman she's a writer, Deborah Prawley. She she was like in the fellowship, but she also is an actress, and so she's like she knows about the Pacific Northwest acting scene, and she organized a reading at a community college. So that was really special, just to see 10 pages being read by like actors, because you just never know what things are going to sound like when they're actually read correctly,
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, we talked about maybe we should set some goals for next year to do stuff like that, where we were like, maybe we should do like live readings of like one of our scripts or something with actors.
I think that'd be so fun. Like we could do one on Zoom, or when we like collaborate one day, we could definitely do a reading of our own something. Yeah. Like if we want to write something eventually together. So yeah, so that was really cool. And yeah, so we both wrote like a script this year, right? Like you wrote that one. I don't know what else you want to share. Like I know you can't like share obviously what it's about, or but what else do you want to say about that project?
I mean, it definitely feels like I completed it, and I feel good about like the story, even though it's not like, it's hard because like I don't know, I'm sure maybe other people have had this experience where it's like you're writing for like a bunch of other people. And I think for me, this was a different experience than what I had before, where like I just feel like there's like too many people involved in it, with like different ideas and want different things. Yeah. So that felt very hard as like the writer to like, it's like you literally have like 5 people telling you different things.
Yeah.
Or just like wanting different things. And so I feel like that was kind of hard to navigate. But then ultimately, I'm really happy with how it ended. It's like being read by, somebody I really admire right now. So like I'm really curious to see what happens next. But I definitely do feel a little bit like down, I would say, in general, just from these experiences, because I feel like when I reflect on this time last year, I had completed my Christmas script, which like I do like really love that script. And this kind of goes into the next question I have for you. But it does make me reflect on like, even though I don't know, just it's so interesting with like being like writing stuff on spec, because it's like you're kind of taking a chance, right? Because like you're not getting paid, you're working with people that like have all these connections, but then when it doesn't, nothing comes of it, then you're kind of just left with like a good story and a good script, but then it's like, what do you do with it? And so I've been wondering how you feel about yours too.
Yeah.
Because I know you had like an actual shopping agreement with yours. I can't remember if yours like, does that expire, that agreement, at some point, and then they like aren't gonna, try to sell it anymore? And then what happens to the script? Like, do you own it? Do they own it? Like, can you try shopping it around yourself? Like I keep wondering like that, or like, I don't know.
Yeah, it does belong to me once the shopping agreement ends, so that's good. The script that I wrote a holiday rom-com for a producer that we've had on the show, Karen.
Oh yeah.
So watch that episode, everyone.
Yeah,
it's a really good one.
More about it.
She talks. It's the Julie Andrews one because she talks about meeting Julie Andrews for the Princess Diaries, but which is. Yeah. Side note, I wish we could get Julie Andrews on the show. I love her. I love her so much. So yeah, the shopping agreement does expire soon, actually. So I have to figure out how to renew that. Basically, I think I said this in a previous episode, but we're just like waiting to see if a certain company wants it. So that's kind of where it is right now, because I think a lot of sales aren't happening until 2025, but it almost is 2025. So like I'll know really soon, I think, the fate of this project. But yeah, everybody manifests for me that it really does sell, because like we've had a lot of like encouraging words about this project, but like compliments are nice, but I want to sale. So
yeah. I know, I feel like that's what I got too, is like we got a lot of good feedback on it, but then it was just like, oh, it's not the right time, we're not interested. But I guess this also kind of goes into us discussing Hot Frosty. But I had brought it back up to my producers because I was like, hey, this is kind of a similar, I mean, they're totally different stories, but just like a little bit of a concept that I feel like, okay, if they're open to that idea, then like probably be, so like people would definitely be interested in like this like stories concept. And I just feel like there's like this part of me that feels like we have different visions of what the story is, and that's maybe part of the problem. And like, not to say that they're like doing anything wrong, I just don't know that I don't feel like we have communication about what if they're doing anything with it anymore. And my gut is that they aren't, because when I last asked them about it, they were just kind of like, oh yeah, like maybe, because I mentioned like, hey, it might be a good idea to like draw the parallels to Hot Frosty with this one if you like pass it around. So I've been trying to figure out like, I kind of maybe want to see what happens with the next steps of this other script, but I kind of want to send an email to them and ask them like formally, like, hey, if you're not like, I don't really know how to do this stuff. I feel like a little bit of fear, but I'm also kind of at the point with them where I kind of just want to be like, what are your thoughts on this? Do you not care about it anymore? Like what can I do with it? And like, even if it's just, I know I can just at least use it as a sample, but I do feel like if I sent it to like some other people and then they were interested in it, I don't know what happens then.
Yeah. I think it's totally reasonable. Like, I don't know entirely how it works, but I think it's totally reasonable to like talk to them and be really open about it. But I get that fear too, because I think as a writer that isn't, super established yet, it's easy to just, I don't know, I'm always paranoid that I'm bothering people.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. Yeah. Or that I'm being annoying.
I feel annoying. I wonder if this is like a female thing too. Like, let us know.
Oh, 100%. I am sure a man does not think does about it as much as we do.
I think that's true, because I'm always like, oh no, I don't want a reputation for being like pestering people. So there's like this balance of like, like persistence, but also I And I think probably we're not bothering people as much as it feels mentally.
Yeah.
We're not emailing people every day. Like, it's like, it's reasonable to check in every so often if you don't hear from someone. But yeah. So yeah, definitely. I think you should just reach out and talk to them and just be like, how long has it been? Like, over a year for that one? For the Christmas one? Yeah. I think it's reasonable.
I think like the last time we had like talked about it was like March. I want to say sometime in March or April this year is like when like we had last heard from like some director had like given feedback on it and stuff. But I don't think I've heard anything else since then.
Yeah, definitely talk to them, and maybe you could even, if they still do want to shop it around, you could say, can we set kind of a date for like the deadline of that in some way? Yeah. So it's not indefinite, because I do think I just, when we're talking, like, no one's gonna like care about our projects as much as we do. Even our champions of people who are like, helping us, but no one's gonna care like we do.
Yeah, I know. I want to see what Carly's feedback is on it, and then because I think, but there's a part of me too that is thinking like, okay, what if I did like a little bit of a rewrite on it, because I'm sure I'd have to like change parts of it so that it's kind of different. I think that's what Hillary, the lawyer, was suggesting, right? But then I was wondering, I wonder too if I took another look at it and wrote it from like just my perspective, because I felt like, again, there's like things that I would do that like if it was just a script for me, that I was writing, that I might not have done or was steered away from by having other people involved in the project. So
yeah I hope I hope you can get it back, or they can shop it, or I still need to read I'm gonna read your Christmas project very soon. I'm really bad about reading other people's scripts. I still owe a read for a friend too, but yeah, no, I do want to read it. And yeah, all this frustration and some hope too. Like, there's been some like little hopeful blips with this script for sure. And right now, like, it really could sell. But I will say also that just this waiting game, and it's so much slower than we anticipated, of course, has really made, me think more about like making our own stuff. We've interviewed so many people this season, or at least a couple people who said, start thinking about making your own stuff. Yeah. Because it's just tough out there. So, how do you feel about producing one day, maybe?
I definitely feel like my mind, I would love to direct someday. I think like, I do think about that sometimes, of like, I've thought before about like, should I go back to school, or like, should I, you know what I mean? Like what's the path to doing that? But then I always come back to like, well, I'm at this point in my life, I might as well just like try and get something written, and then try and like work with like, directors, or like, as a script of mine gets made, I can always like learn that way. But I do feel like my mind does work from a director place. It's just that I don't know anything about like actually like, I don't know the terms and stuff is what I feel.
Logistics.
But yeah. But I do feel like I'd want to do that someday.
Yeah, I've also kind of had like a career, like, I was gonna say crisis, that's like an intense word, but I've also just been thinking like, what would I study if I wanted to do film? And like, I'm gonna be, I mean, I don't know, I don't know the outcome of this, but I'm gonna be applying to like a grad school program that doesn't have to do with film specifically, but it's in communications and digital media. So like kind of, I've talked to Isabel about this, but I've also contemplated like, would I want to go to grad school for film or creative writing? But then I don't know. I kind of feel like, I mean, I'm sure I could get benefit from film school for sure. But when it comes to screenwriting in particular, I don't know. I don't really know if that would help me that much, because we've just written so much. Not to say that I'm like the best writer ever, but I just feel like we can kind of, like, we don't need a school program necessarily to like get our writing better, because I just feel like kind of what we're doing is grad school in a way. But yeah, I've also wondered, like, because I don't know the production side either, and but I want to, and I could see you directing. I don't really see myself directing, but never say never. Not for my first project. But yeah, I do want to take steps to like start figuring out how to make significant mothers. But I still don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just getting advice from a lot of people. And, I don't know.
That was another question I had for you, is like with your production company, like, So, I mean, it sounds like that's what you want to do, is you want to take your script, Significant Mothers, and like go through the process of like, okay, how do I actually get this made?
Yeah.
And so, I don't know. I think like, do you have a plan? Or I was going to look at your pitch deck before we came on here, but then I forgot about it while I was thinking of other questions to ask you.
I wish one day, River said, I'd love if we could like look at it together.
Yeah.
Like, you know, that'd be so cool. They need to step up the tech options. Yeah. So I just made a pitch deck for my rom-com that I wrote through the fellowship called Significant Mothers, and I sent it to Isabel. I still don't entirely know what I'm doing, but I have been told by multiple people that once you have a script and you want to start thinking about producing, it's good to have like a visual representation of what you're trying to sell. So I was like, okay, I'll go on Canva. I've gotten some example pitch decks from friends, and I think even if you just want to sell a script and you don't want to produce it, I do know friends who have made pitch decks to kind of send to producers and things. So yeah, I made one, and I love that kind of visual side. So it was really fun to just like imagine if I could make any movie with any, because I put like my dream actors and actresses on there. Like it was a very fun like manifestation exercise. But yeah, so I have that now. It's not done. I think I need to learn more about budget and like the more production side and put that in there, because I don't know how much money I'm asking for, and I should know that. So
yeah, honestly, that would be, we should try and get a producer to like interview on here who could like speak to that, because I do think it would be really cool to have a class. I mean, if this was a class, it'd be cool to attend a class like this, but I feel like I would love to hear like when a producer reads a script, like what, like how, it's like I do feel like when they read it, they're always thinking about money, you know, and they're thinking about how expensive it will be. But I'm like, how does that translate? Is it because they're noticing, like, I remember when I had a producer read one of my scripts, and they kind of wrote back being like, wow, this would like be really expensive to make, but there is a way to do it cheaper. And they were saying something about like, do more scenes that are indoors, and like, you know, like, is there a way to like have it not be set in this area, or like like think about like how many like anytime there's like a day shoot and it's like outside, like that's an expensive shooting day because it's like outdoors, and like, you know, then you have to have all the lighting crew and all of the, you know what I mean? And so I was like, wow, I don't think about any of that stuff. But I don't know, because like to me it's like I have no idea how much does it cost to just have one day of like shooting one scene, you know? And if it's just one small scene where they're just like walking outside to like their car or something, like how much does that cost to just film that, you know?
Yeah, it's stuff we just don't know. And I'm going to even get some books about producing. I'm sure they exist if anyone has any recommendations. Actually, you know what? Someone I don't remember the name right now. We can put it in the show notes. Someone gave me a recommendation for like indie producing. So I'm going to read that. But yeah, it's like, it's something we don't think about. Like I'm like, of course it rains in this scene, but like, I think growing up, this is so like delusional now, but I just thought, oh, it just happens to rain when they need the rain. I was just thinking about that. I totally thought that. Like, for example, like in The Parent Trap, you know, that like really you've seen that movie, of course, the Lindsay Lohan version.
What? Did you just ask me if I've seen The Parent Trap?
Sorry.
Who do you think I
am? Wait, if you haven't seen that, that's the problem. I'm sure everyone, who loves the movies we do has seen that. But, you know, like the super rainy scene in California. Yeah. Now, when I look back, I'm like, of course, it probably was not just happening to rain.
No, it's so funny when you see, I kind of love watching behind the scene things, because then when I see it, I'm just like, oh wow, this is like not how I imagine in my mind this is shot.
So yeah, I would love to interview more people about budget and more steps we can take. And I need to just like educate myself about that. And I know some people would say, make a short first. I know that's like the logical thing to do. Yeah. But this is controversial. Well, it's not controversial, but I don't really like shorts very much. Like, I know it'd be helpful, and maybe I'll make one. I've made one like 10 years ago, but I just feel like no one cares about shorts. Like, no one watches them.
I was just gonna say, I never watched short films.
And I know like everyone who's listening is probably like, but I made a short, and it's like probably really good, like for your own education. But I just feel like no one cares. about watching them voluntarily unless like you know the person who made it.
Yeah. Or it's got to be something like really, really interesting that's gonna or like you're in college and like your friends are like making them, you know, like once you're out of that, I do feel like I never watch shorts and
they don't make money.
I don't have any like negativity about them and people who do them. It's just like I would rather sit down and watch a 2.5 hour movie.
Right? I don't know. I just think it's like really hard to get invested in shorts. Like when you're just as a viewer, I'm just like, eh. And then if you get attached, it's only like 5 minutes. So like, I don't know.
You're like, I want to get attached and then be left hanging so quickly.
Yeah, and I guess I know some people, some like filmmakers that don't come to mind now, but like, you know, they make a short and then it's like expanded into a feature. So there always is that idea. But I don't know. I'd rather just focus on a feature. I'm feeling very delusional this week.
That's how it should always be. I feel delusional my whole life.
I met with a local filmmaker here. She used that word. Like I've used that word before, but she reminded me of that word, and it's kind of a nice filmmaking word. She's like, she made a feature on the island. Her name's Emma Cameron. Because I've connected with Rachel, who we've interviewed on the podcast, who made Inheritance and Ingress on Bainbridge. And then I met with Emma, and her movie's not out yet, but it's called Detention, and she made it this past summer. And she was like, just be, you know, I was delusional, just be delusional, and just like, don't make delusional. She also was anti-short. She was like, if you don't want to make a short, just like make a feature. So, I don't know. So that's what I've been thinking about lately as of the past like month, or I don't know, maybe even sooner. I mean, I always wanted to make my own stuff, but I was like, I'm not qualified. I'm not, you know, a lot of limiting beliefs, but you know, some of our favorite filmmakers were also delusional, I think, and just made their own stuff, right? So
yeah. I just want to say I don't like the word delusional because it has a negative connotation, but I will say I think what the feeling that we have is not necessarily delusion. It's just belief in ourselves. And I always try to like whenever I feel that way or when because I've had somebody tell me like, oh, like, you know, everyone needs to be a little bit delusional in life. And to me, I'm like, I definitely received that as a negative thing, but I think I've tried to reframe it now for myself as like, I just believe in myself and nobody is ever going to believe in you more than you do. So I think that like, it's just about channeling that like belief you have that like you can make your own movie, you know, like you can like write your own story and then like, and sell it and you can win an Oscar. Like you can do all of that stuff. And like, no one else is going to believe that you can do that, you know, but you can. And so I don't think that's delusional. I think that's just like the power of like self-belief.
I think that's true. It's a confidence thing, which I'm trying to build in the film world and screenwriting. And I think it's so interesting, just anecdotally. I think this might be back to a gender thing too. Like I've encountered writers who just are like, of course I'm a good writer. And I feel that too. I do. I know that we're both good writers, but I think even like I've just seen men like talk that way. And I feel like I'm like, oh, I'm still trying to break in, but like I've gotten some exciting like opportunity. Like I just feel like we should be like, yeah, we're good writers. Like, yeah, we can make a movie. Like just like more statements rather than like, oh, I'm just like a little writer. Like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Yeah. I do feel like this year for me has been a like confidence journey that I think that's where I do feel that I've kind of gone through a like roller coaster of that. And that's where I think I'm coming from when I'm saying I feel more confident going into next year to like go network more and like promote our podcast more and talk about it more. Cause I do feel like this past year, I kind of just had to go on that journey of just like, for me, really just figuring out what exactly I want to write about and what stories I want to tell. And I do think it's different being like, I don't know, I'm like going to be in my mid 30s. And I think if I had like come out to the industry when I was in my, you know, just out of college and like, I'd probably be a little bit more like, I'll just write anything, like write whatever I want or like write whatever people want me to write. But for me, I've kind of come back to the realization that like, I want to tell the stories that I have and the stories that are from my perspective, because I don't see that perspective a lot in Hollywood or just like in movies a lot in general. And so that's where I'm kind of more like, I'd rather try and like trailblaze my way in without like, I don't know. I think I keep thinking about when I've been asked to, work on other scripts and it's just like, oh, another story about a white girl like traveling abroad and falling in love in Italy. And it's just, to me, it's like, that's not my life. That's not my worldview. Like, as much as I would probably watch that movie when I'm like,
yeah, right.
Like sad and stuff at home, I feel like I feel like that's not the kind of like stuff I want to put out in the world with my name on it,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I'm with you. Like, yeah, I think that's a great perspective. And yeah, and the movie, not to like criticize movies made today, but I don't see out there generally the rom-coms I want to write, like similar, even like comps. I don't see that very often. It's rare when I do, like this is, like this year we were trying to think of what our favorite rom-com was. And I could name, we can transition to that, but I couldn't think of, this is so sad, but I couldn't think of like a rom-com that I watched more than once that I really loved and was like, I wish I'd written that. Like, I wish I'd written that. And I can say there was one last year. I really liked Puppy Love. I think BuzzFeed produced it. I thought it was lovely. Not one that I'm going to watch 100 times like Sleepless in Seattle, but it was like memorable and unique and something I would have enjoyed writing and making and putting into the world. But I just feel like generally those are so rare. And I feel like, yeah, we just live in this time where like so many movies are being made on all these streamers, but they're not rewatchable. And it makes me sad because I just know movies can be better.
It just really feels like and I think this is where we've maybe talked about this before, that my thought on it is that there's too many producers and executive people who are like not creative types going into the script or the story from the very beginning and kind of doing like what we were talking about, where it's like they're like thinking of it about money too much, and they're thinking about like, how do we do this faster, and like, so then when the movie comes out, it just feels very like it's like missing the heart to like, just be direct. And I had this thought because I want to say that my favorite movie of this year, because I think I watched it like 6 times this year, and I think I texted you that I realized that this is a newer rom-com that has become, to me, what I equate to how I feel about like Sleepless in Seattle, When Harry Met Sally. And it's the movie Set It Up with Zoe Dutch and Glenn Powell.
Yeah, of course.
And I was watching it. I think I literally have watched it 6 times this year, and it's because I went to it when I was like, feeling down, like how my heart broken. And I remember sitting on the couch and just thinking, I really just want to watch Set It Up, even though I know I've already seen it like 4 times.
Yeah.
But what I love about it is because it's so relatable, because it's just like I can tell that the writer, I forgot her name in this moment.
Is it Katie Silberman or is it someone else?
No.
I'm going to Google really quick. I think it won't. I'm just going to like, who wrote Set It Up? Oh, it is Katie Silberman and Claire.
Okay, I was thinking Claire. It's Claire something. Yeah, they both wrote it, right?
Yeah.
Or did one of them direct it?
And then who directed it? Let's just go to their IMDb, which is like my favorite. That's my favorite website of the year.
Yeah, that's your favorite website. IMDb.
Okay, directed by Claire Scanlon, and then writer, it says Katie, but then if you like go to more info, it looks like maybe Claire also.
I was gonna say I remember Claire's name. So
see,
Claire.
What else have you done?
I feel like they definitely had been assistants before. Like that's, I think the first thing is like they are very much in the world. And so that's, to me, when you watch the movie, you really feel like the pain of being like an assistant or an intern and like having that first job. Like they do that so well. And then I also love Zoe and Glenn's chemistry is so good in the movie. I really don't know why they don't do more rom-coms. Like they, to me, have the like Kate Hudson, Matthew McConaughey vibe. But I also kind of love that he's sort of like, he's like not like super attractive. Like he's kind of like that cute, like he's like hot, but he's like kind of weird, but he's got like the good personality. So like you like him anyway.
Yeah.
And I just love all the different stories that are going on in it. And like, I don't know, there's something about it to me that just really feels like, I think also it's the dialogue. It's like there are conversations that happen, that I think are just like, again, relatable. It just feels very relatable. It's like a very like, I don't know, happy, sad movie in some ways to me. And I feel like that's my favorite movie of this year, even though it's, from like 20.
When was it made? Let's see, what year was it? Let's see, I'm going to go back to the IMDb. It was made 2018. Okay.
2018.
So like
okay.
relatively
it's
recently.
not that, it's not that old, but.
And I think also, like, how do I say this? I think like producers and just these movies, just like, I don't know. I feel like audiences are smarter than they're giving us credit for. I don't know how to say this.
No,
I just
that's what
like
Delia
they're like
said, right?
dumbing it down for us. Like, I don't know how to even articulate it. Like, I just feel like some of the older movies just like are more intelligent feeling. And I don't know what's happened.
I think it's the dialogue. I think it reminds me of when we talked to Delia about this, and she was saying that like what her and Nora understood was that movies have to be smart. And like I really agree with that, because I do feel like what you're saying is like, I think how a lot of people are, I think we're all starting to feel that. We're kind of just tired of like the news, like the media, like movies, everything just sort of presenting things to us as if we're all like stupid, and like we don't like see through things. And I think we're all starting to see through that, and that's where we're sort of having this like collective like feeling of we're all just like, we want to go to the movies, we just want to go to the movies to like actually feel something, and like we want those like moments of like, because I think that's the thing too, like I've gotten feedback on scripts before where like, they've told me to do something differently or to like have it end up this way or whatever. And I feel like I always find myself feeling like, but that's not life, and like, it's, I know everyone wants to see this like one moment or this happy ending and stuff, but that's not what really happens in life. And like, I think there's more power to giving people something that like feels relatable, even if it is like a tragic thing that happens or like the person doesn't say the right thing in the moment. I feel like that's where that's kind of like, I don't know. I was watching, I think I told you, the movie In a Relationship with Emma Roberts, again, going through some heartbreak. So I was like watching that, and I just, there's this like such like small things in that movie that worked so well for me, where it's like the couple is obviously like going through a breakup, and they have like these moments where they're just like not communicating correctly, and then they go to a concert, and it's just like they're at the concert and they're just not even looking at each other, and they're just like, and you can like feel it in that moment where it's like, oh my god, like I've been in that moment in a relationship where like it's over, and you just, and without even saying anything, you can just feel it. And I'm like, the movie captures that. The movies, the current movies don't capture that kind of stuff, because they would like, a current movie would probably put them fighting, and like make them like put exposition to be like talking and make it a whole thing, versus just like a silent moment that says so much,
Yeah. I think we want like maybe messier characters and just like not perfection. I think there's also the problem as well that I have is I feel like rom-coms today, they're so obsessed with aesthetics. And don't get me wrong, like it's fun to like have attractive people on screen. I love that in rom-coms. I grew up, like, but it's like they care more about looks and what things look like more than like someone's personality, like a character's personality will sway our attraction to them. Like I think like when Harry Met Sally is an example. Like I'm not like super attracted to Billy Crystal, but
I know, but he's so charming. I know exactly what you're saying.
And Tom Hanks, and not to say these people are unattractive, but they're just not like hot, buff, like bodybuilder men. We don't need that to care about the story. I want to be messy. I like hot mess characters. I do. I really like them. I actually rewatched last night Broken Hearts Gallery, which is, it's not a perfect film, but it's one I bought on Amazon, and that says something, right? Like that I bought it because I rewatch it all the time.
That's true, yeah.
And I I admire it because it's
you inspired me to buy Set It Up. I just realized that's going to be my Christmas present to myself.
As an actress, I always get her name wrong, but I need to memorize Geraldine Vishwanthan. I'm so sorry, Geraldine.
Oh,
if we ever,
okay, yes.
If we ever meet, I will perfect your last name. But I just think she's so funny and messy and beautiful, and just like, I just enjoy her as a character so much more than like what we see usually. It's like, it just has such like quirky, random humor that I've never seen, and I admire that. And I like that she's not perfect, but we still love her, and that's like a hard balance. You know, sometimes characters can be too annoying, and then we're like, I don't care about you, but we care about her even though she's like annoying and like quirky and not perfect, and she like sweats, and like, I mean, she doesn't sweat on screen, but like, that's, you know, she's a human being.
Yeah.
She's not like a perfect plastic character, you know? But yeah, so as for favorites, so yours is Set It Up. Also, I don't think this is my favorite, but when we're talking about rom-coms, I was thinking about 2024. Like, Nobody Wants This, I'd say, was like the biggest rom-com.
Oh, yeah. Like TV show.
Yeah, it was a TV show. That. I enjoyed it, but again, and I will watch season 2. I'll watch for as long as it comes out. But it's not one I've rewatched, so I think that says something. You know, I'm not like, I have to see it again. Nobody Wants This.
Oh.
The TV show. Okay. But that was the rom-com everyone was talking about this year, I think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. It was like the best rom-com TV show I've seen.
Yeah.
But I do want to say, I don't know if did we say this qualifies as a rom-com? It's like I don't know. I just think it was romantic comedy, teen drama. Yeah. But I really loved Emily Tang's Girl Haunts Boy. Emily was on our podcast earlier this year. And I have to say that movie, like, it really moved me. Like, it made me sad. It made me happy. Like, I cried watching it. And I think that if I had seen that too while I was like a teenager, that would have meant so much to me. And so like that to me is like a success in a movie when like it really moves your emotions in so many different ways. And so I think that's like, I don't know if that is necessarily a rom-com, but it's definitely one of my favorite like young adult movies. Honestly, that I saw.
Same. And I'm not just saying this to like we love Emily, of course, but we're not just saying that.
No, yeah, I didn't really know what it was going to be about going into it, and I very much left it feeling like that was a really good movie.
it made me cry, and I don't know if any other thing I saw this year made me cry, and that is so powerful when you can make an audience member cry, especially when I wasn't even in a theater, of course, like it was just streaming. I was just crying on my own.
Yeah.
It's really rare when I'm watching something. So yeah, she directed this movie. Definitely recommend it. Is it on Netflix?
It's on Netflix, yeah.
It's on Netflix. And Isabel and I were both saying, just for manifestation purposes, we would love to work with Emily. We think she's a really good director and writer. She had a Hallmark movie I saw that was good. Is it called Christmas with the Sings? It was an Indian, Indian Christmas rom-com, so maybe you should watch that. But Girl Haunts Boy, really good, really good, and simple, and only like 2 characters for most of the film.
I know, yeah, so it did so much,
low budget. So yeah, I thought that was great. And then for other favorites, I can't list any rom-coms, but I loved My Old Ass, which is a weird name.
Oh yeah, I really need to watch that movie. So many people have told me I would love it.
It was so good. I'm gonna rewatch that. Directed by Megan Park, who we'd love to have on the show. She was actually an actress on Secret Life of the American Teenager, if you remember that kind of bizarre show. Such a weird show.
Oh my gosh, that was a random show.
She played, I don't remember her character, but she's a blonde one who had a very big role in that. But
the only person I remember is Shailene Woodley, right?
Oh my god, such a strange show. Sometimes on Instagram I'll like see random clips and I'm like, what were we watching?
Yeah.
So icky. But she directed it, and it has Aubrey Plaza in it, and what is her name? One of the what is her name? I'm blanking on her name, but she's a lovely actress from Nashville, the show that I saw years ago. Oh, okay. Her name is, well, I'm gonna get it wrong, but it was so good. But it was a coming of age drama. I will say it's very, I don't want to give anything away, but it's not like a funny rom-com.
Yeah, so that's why I haven't watched it yet, because I'm just like, I gotta be in the mood for that.
It's emotional. It's an emotional journey, but I thought it was so good, and it actually did. You would love it. It's so like you. I think you would really love it.
That's what everyone's saying to me.
It's also she's a bisexual character, so it explores that.
Yeah.
And it was just so so lovely, and also just the humor I've never seen before. I don't want to give anything away, but she's on like a mushroom trip, and just like what happens during this trip. And then her older self like ends up visiting her. But what happens is like so clever and funny. So there are uplifting parts, but
okay, maybe I'll watch
I loved
this.
it. I thought it was so good. And it's produced by Margot Robbie's production company. So the same group that made Barbie, and they're behind a lot of really cool like female driven films.
Oh yeah, that's the other movie I really loved this year, was The Idea of You.
Yes.
I really thought that movie was done really well.
I thought
that movie also moved me. I don't know if it made me cry, but it made me feel a lot, and it made me like, I think this is what a lot of like, I don't know, things we see outright are just like, they don't make you think. Like, I like when movies really make you think, or like leave you with like, I mean, I don't always want to think. Like, that's where I'm like, sometimes I do want to just watch something like Hot Frosty, just like while I'm doing something. But I do feel like most of the time when I'm looking for a movie to watch, it's because I want something that's going to make me feel something.
Same. And a lot of films make me feel nothing, or I just don't want to watch them. And I agree. I think we should be thinking about the film after it's over, and so many just aren't memorable, unfortunately. And sometimes I like just aesthetic eye candy, like I get why Anyone But You did so well. Like, it's fun to just watch like sparkly, beautiful people in a sparkly location, but I do think to make a movie timeless, it doesn't just have to rely on just like how beautiful it is, you know?
But I will say I did go to the Interstellar re-release in IMAX, and I fucking love that movie. Oh my, I love that movie so much. It makes you think so much. I mean, it's also, I think, because I work in agriculture, that it's like, it's that world too. And so I just love all the different like commentaries it has in it. And like, it's so beautiful. It was really cool to see it like in IMAX theater.
Awesome.
But yeah, that's definitely one of my favorite movies too that I saw this year, even though it's an old movie.
I need to rewatch that, because I think I've seen it, but it's been a long time. But what was I going to say? There was another movie. Oh, this one. It wasn't like one I'd rewatch my entire life all the time. But have you seen Am I Okay? It's on HBO Max. It's with Dakota. What is her name? The woman in the 50 Shades of Grey. What is her name? Dakota Johnson?
Oh, Dakota Johnson, yeah.
I love her. I think she's so beautiful and a really great actress.
I just watched How to Be Single recently. And she's in that.
That's a fun one.
Yeah,
she's fun in rom-coms, and I recommend Actually, this one's also about someone kind of figuring out her sexuality. I guess both my favorites are kind of about that, which is interesting.
It's called Am I Okay?
Yeah, it's called Am I Okay? I thought it was just one of those films, like, this is so sad to say, but a lot of films I just stop watching like halfway through and maybe forget. This one I watched all the way through in one sitting, and it was just like messy and quirky, and it was funny, and I liked it. I think it's about a woman who figures out that she's bisexual, and I might be getting the log line wrong, but it's like just about her dating for the first time, like figuring that out.
Oh, okay.
And so it was really good. That's interesting. Yeah, that kind of both of my favorites are like that. But it was messy and good, and I've just been I was rewatching Cha Cha Real Smooth the other night, which I also love, not from this year, on Apple TV, and Dakota Johnson's in that too. And I was watching because that one apparently had a $15,000 budget, and I'm like, how did they do that? It looks so good.
What?
I don't understand.
How do they make movies with that little money?
I don't know. It's a great film. That was one of my favorites from whenever it came out. It was last year or the year before.
Do people just not get paid in that scenario, and then they just like get paid later?
Yes,
if it makes money.
Dakota Johnson made a lot once it sold. Apple bought it for $1 million, and she might have gotten like paid more. I'm not sure how that works, but there's no way. I don't know, because there are a lot of big names. Like Leslie Mann is also in that movie.
Wow.
You know,
It's so
and she, you know, and she's in How to Be Single. Oh, that's interesting. They worked together in How to Be Single. Leslie Mann and Dakota. But anyway.
Oh, speaking of movies that we don't finish and that we watch halfway through. So I want to know how you feel about Hot Frosty, and I need you to tell me how it ends because I didn't ever finish it because I actually thought it was really good at the beginning. I felt like it started well. I was excited. I was like, oh, this is kind of cute. And then I got so bored of it and it just felt like it went on for way too long. And then I just never finished it.
No, I know. And I always preface, I respect the people making it. I respect that a movie was made. It's a miracle. I don't want to ever sound like a hater. But yeah, to be authentic, it already is a blur because it just wasn't memorable. But they end up together. He becomes like a human.
I was going to say, does he become human? But how? What is the magic there?
My gosh, I don't even, honestly, this just shows that I don't know. And also, a caveat is that I was knitting at the same time, so I might have not been as focused. What happened? He somehow becomes human, maybe through love or something. I can't remember.
That's what that was. Okay, so that's what I was thinking the direction of this movie was going.
Don't quote me, but I think. But the problem as well with this movie, it felt like he was too juvenile to be a romantic lead. That was my biggest issue with the whole romance. It felt like she was dating a man, but with a child's brain.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. And that creeped me out.
Yeah.
So, and that's a hard balance because he's never been a human before. He's never lived in the human world. But I've seen other movies manage to do that magical realism, like Enchanted, for example.
Yeah.
She is an adult. I root for her to be with Patrick Dempsey's character. It's not disturbing to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even though she's not from the human world and she's a Disney princess.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that was how I was feeling. I was I thought it was it started good to me. And then, it started to feel like it was going to go in that direction where they're going to come up with some way that he becomes human and then she marries him. And I was just in my mind thinking this would be, again, a more real feeling movie if it was more about I don't know, he turns back into the snowman and there's some sentimental thing when that happens. And then she realizes there's somebody else in her life that she just hasn't been looking at as the person she is in love with, and it's
better.
The person who's always kind of been around helping her, I mean? I was there's something else there that would feel more okay, the snowman dude brought her on some journey to herself, but I was thinking they're gonna make this snowman dude her husband.
It was weird. It was weird. Props to that actress for getting so many Christmas movies. Lacey, how do you say her last name? Chabert?
The girl from Mean Girls, right? Lacey. I don't know how you pronounce her last name.
I am amazed by how many films she's been in. She's the Hallmark queen, and then she got a Netflix deal, and it's amazing. But oy vey. And then there was the Lindsay Lohan. Whoops, I just hit my mug.
I haven't seen that.
See, and the name isn't even memorable.
I've heard that. I've heard people say that they like it.
People liked it. Or Little Secret? Is that what it is?
Oh yeah, it's something like that. Little Secret.
Is it that? Ooh. I thought it had funny moments where I was ooh, this is fun. They're going PG-13, which is my favorite. It had drugs in it and just a little more inappropriate humor. But I can't say I'd watch it again. But I love Lindsay Lohan. I'm so excited and proud of, is it weird for me to say I'm proud of her? I don't know her, but I'm excited to see her get opportunities again. I think she's amazing, but the leads didn't really have chemistry. And
that's the other thing I feel movies keep doing. They keep putting people together who don't have chemistry. And it's
I know.
Don't they know that matters?
Yeah, if we ever interview a casting director, I'd just be so curious if chemistry reads are traditionally done now, because I feel I see interviews all the time now where they're yeah, we met on set for the first time, or it's that kind of thing. And because chemistry is important in a rom-com. It doesn't always work, I guess. I don't know the magic to that, but...
Or I feel they try to look at it as just oh, this person's really famous and has a big following, and so does this guy, so let's just put them together and make them make a movie. But then it's if they don't have the chemistry, it's just
it doesn't work. That's probably why certain leads, like, we're together in multiple rom-coms, right? Because we know it works. They don't have to do another chemistry read. But yeah, are there any other films we should mention before we move on to our next topic? I don't think so.
I think we kind of covered all the films we were talking about.
Yeah, like there really weren't that many other rom-coms. I'm trying to think who we interviewed. Whose projects came out this past year, but I know Carly, we just shout out to Carly.
Yeah.
I haven't seen her films yet, but she was an executive producer on 4 different films that were on Hallmark. I think they've already premiered. We'll put them all in the show notes.
Carly's so cool.
Yeah, Carly, we love you. We want to work with Emily for sure. Emily Tang. And yeah,
you
just a quick
stuff that you had there. Do you have like a list of people whose things came out?
Yeah. Okay. So Karen Glass had a movie come out, my producer, on Hallmark called Leah's Perfect Gift. And that had some Hanukkah representation, which was fun. Cool. And and then the actress Emily Arlook, who's from Nobody Wants This, she's the villain. Like, you know, Adam Brody's ex in it. She was the lead in this, so it was like nice to see her in like a positive role.
Yeah, cool.
And also another guest we had was Irene Tran Donahue, and she had a movie come out on Lifetime called Christmas in the Spotlight.
Christmas in the Spotlight.
And that is a Taylor Swift like fan fiction rom-com, which I feel like is aligned with kind of what we want to write. Like you've already done that. You've already written your Zac Efron rom-com. Although ideally Zac Efron would be in that one. This one was just like based upon them, based upon Taylor and Travis's relationship.
I feel like we should host, you know how there's all those like lookalike contest things happening? We should do a Zac Efron lookalike one, and then we take the winner from that, and we have him, and then we make dating Zac Efron with him.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I'd rather have Zac, but if we can't
I'd rather have Zac too, but I don't know. There's a part of me that is like, I could do this whole thing as a low budget thing where it's just like, I don't know, to me, this is my sense of humor, but I just kind of feel like it'd be funny to have like not the real actors, but playing these actors, and but the movie just never addresses the fact that it's not really them.
Yeah. I think that'd be really fun. And then are there any other projects? I think that covers everyone from people we've interviewed this past year. But yeah, just like a quick, I know we could talk for like 10 hours, but like a quick recap of this past, 2024 season of our podcast. Like we got to season 3 of the podcast, and we're going to this is like going to be episode 9, right? And then we have like one more episode, and we interviewed Delia Efron. Like I was just reflecting on all the guests.
I know. I'm so proud of us. I feel like we were really consistent this last season. And I think like we're building, I feel the momentum building for it. And I think
me too. I feel this energy that I'm like, we're going to get bigger. And, like, even if, like I love it no matter what, like, it's just fun to chat and like learn from people, but, and interact with the listeners who do reach out, we don't have a huge following, but like, we appreciate anyone who's like excited about what we're doing. But yeah, like, I think it clicked. Like I was looking at, because I'm making a little like montage for our Instagram for the past year. And like we were talking to Erin Carlson, who wrote I'll Have What She's Having, like a book about the Nora Ephron and like Ephron sister filmography. And we were saying like, oh, well, we're manifesting talking to Delia. And I think at the time we didn't really think it was going to happen.
Yeah.
So you never know. And then it did happen. So that was fun to see.
Yeah, you never know what can happen.
Like, we sound delusional when we're like, Zach's going to be on the podcast, but like, I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, so there will be a day where we
totally like welcome him to here, to the Riverside.
Yeah, we have to send him a Riverside link, and then he's waiting in the lobby, and then our tech thing just like messes it all up and screws up our interview.
I will say, the hardest part about having a podcast, honestly, is tech. I feel like just the glitches are just so stressful, especially when we talk to Zac Efron, but it'll be fine. Maybe we'll interview him in person. I'll come to LA.
Yeah, that'd be a great reason to come to LA.
Please, I want that to be my reason for coming to LA. And then, we just interviewed, the writer of Irish Wish, which was the Lindsay Lohan rom-com this year. We interviewed, who else was Bring It On writer Jessica Benninger.
Yeah, we manifested two interviews, right? Jessica Benninger and Delia Efron. I feel like we talked about at the beginning of the year. So
yeah, and I didn't think it was necessarily going to happen with Jessica either, because I'd reached out so many times, and it's so hard to like through like social media, and you just never know, like, are they seeing this? Are they not? And I don't, I think just people who have bigger followings, like, maybe just don't read every message, but so yeah, next season I would love to manifest. We'll just say Nancy Meyers. I want to, writer of Parent Trap and The Holiday, and she's just so amazing.
I was also wanting to make sure I said their name right, because I want to manifest that we'll interview Claire Scanlon and Katie Silverman.
Yes.
The writers and director of Set It Up. That will be top of my list for next year.
And then Aline Broach McKenna is on our list. And I think that actually could happen. And Nia Vardalos, I still would love to talk to, the writer of My Big Fat Greek Wedding, which is one of my favorite rom-coms of all time. Oh, and then Kiwi and Karen as well, of course, like the writers of She's the Man and 10 Things I Hate About You and all their Legally Blonde, all those amazing films. I think those are the top. Oh, I'd love to talk to Megan Park, who directed My Old Ass. Like, I just think she is like a really, I was gonna say up and coming, but like she's very established, but I just feel like she's been involved in projects lately that I think she's really cool.
I think all of these are possible.
I think they are too, for sure. And I would love to interview a casting director, a cinematographer, just getting perspectives. Yeah. So yeah, and then eventually sponsorships. But again, I'm just trying, it's still like, in my mind, but like we're just doing this for fun. We're just doing this to build a community.
That's how I look at it too. I feel like that's what makes me feel more inspired by it, is when like you sent me the IMDb thing with all of our people listed. And I just think like it does feel really cool. Like at the end of the day, it just feels like a documentary project, right? Like we're documenting all these different stories and conversations with women working in film, and I think that's really cool.
It's really cool. It's like turning into this, like, I already just see it evolving, and I feel like we understood we understood our mission from the beginning, I think, with like our, breaking to the entertainment industry and female driven screenwriting, but I just see it evolving in like different ways and expanding who we would want to talk to, but it's all under the umbrella of entertainment.
Yeah.
And I love that. And I think there isn't a podcast like ours. So I think we're, a really cool niche. So
I know, I'm like, we're a niche podcast, but I like
it. But I think it's going to grow, and I think it's going to like open doors for us that we didn't really imagine. And it's, it also is a way to network, which wasn't even like on my radar when we started. I was like, I just want to like chat with people we admire. But I think that's how, as we talked to with Isabel Durian in our last episode, like I think that's how like authentic networking works. Is just like genuinely wanting to talk to the person and not have this energy of like, what can you do for me?
Right, exactly.
Not an energy people are attracted to. So and I want to always be conscious of that as I try to like make my film and everything. Like I just want to be genuine, and I don't want to ever like feel like I'm using anyone. There's that vibe. I always want to just like authentically network. So.
I feel like that's how you are. I feel like I am gonna help you manifest that you're gonna make your movie, and you're gonna like sell your script, and I can't wait to see everything that happens for you in 2025.
I think, of course, that you're such a good writer, and I need to read your Christmas rom-com because I'm
gonna read Significant Mothers while I'm either on my plane or just like while I'm at home for the holidays.
Yeah,
I have like nothing to do.
I was gonna say I've only read the Zach one, but no, that's not true. I've read your Indian one too, and that was amazing too. So I love your writing. That's why we started this partnership, and I just like. Yeah, I just want to work on what you were talking about with the confidence and the like, I deserve to take up space vibe in this industry, because it can be, it's just like an intense hierarchy that we don't have to adhere to, but it can feel powerful, So, So that's what I want to manifest next year: delusion and attraction of like what we want, but also working.
Yeah, I'm working hard to make it happen.
Okay, well, happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays. Happy New Year.
2025.
Yeah, it's going to be a good year. I feel it.
Yeah. May all your, like, you know, anyone who's listening to this, we're rooting for you and we're rooting for your projects. And we're really proud of you for just like continuing to hold on to this dream that can be, you know, it's a hard one. Yeah. There's no clear trajectory.
And like remember that even when you're not writing, you're still writing.
I think that's good. Yeah. So don't feel bad.
That's my big lesson for the year.
Don't feel guilt. You're still a writer. Ignore that like a writer writes every day because, you know, it's good to hone your craft and everything, but also, you know, we're not robots, and you can always come back to writing later when you're ready after living more life or going through whatever you're going through. So
this has been an episode of When Isabel Met Aviva. Thank you so much for listening. If you want to stay up to date with our episodes, please subscribe. Bonus points if you leave us a positive review. That would be a great Christmas present for us, holiday present for us. You can follow us on Instagram at When Isabel Met Aviva and on Twitter /Bluesky/X.
Yeah.
We're both on Instagram. If you want to follow us there, everything will be in the show notes to find out how to stay in touch with us.
Yeah. Thank you so much for such a fabulous 2024 season. And
thank you all for listening.
Yeah, thank you for listening. We really appreciate it. So see you next episode.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.